QRP, low power operation. If you're new to ham radio, you may or may not have come across the expression QRP. QRP means low power. It's a Q code for saying lower your power. And a lot of operators in ham radio enjoy the challenge of operating QRP. Now, for me, my first QRP operation was my first transmitter. Back when I was first licensed back in 1960, I had a crystal controlled 160 meter transmitter which generated about 3 or 4 watts, and that worked quite well. 3 or 4 watts AM on 160 meters. Mind you, the power limit on 160 meters was 10 watts. In theory, I have to say that a lot of us disregarded the 10 watt power limit at times, but in my early days I had just a simple transmitter, and I then had a 19 set which I think operated on 80 meters. No idea what the power was, probably about 4 or 5 watts again. And then I operated on 10 meters. Somebody loaned me a DX40U, which is a crystal controlled transmitter, and I operated AM on 10 meters. That was about, well, I think it was 40 watts actually. But on the 160 meter band and the 80 meter band, I operated a mixture of AM and CW. SSB was a no-no in those days, although it was a mode that was being developed. It wasn't widely used by ham radio operators until much later. So my QRP days started with my early days of ham radio. But what is the fascination of QRP? Why would stations want to operate low power when they can operate high power? I mean, you can buy a 100 watt transceiver now for a reasonable price, particularly if it's second hand. I think the first transceiver to start the 100 watt standard was the Xiegu FT101. Summer Camp, which was made by Xiegu, I believe, also had 100 watt transceivers, and Kenwood had 100 watt transceivers. So the 100 watt transceiver became the sort of industry standard, and even today really 100 watt transceivers are the industry standard. You can buy an amplifier to up your power, and we can now run 1000 watts in the UK. So if you can run 1000 watts now, why would you want to operate at 10 watts or 5 watts or even 1 watt? What's the fascination? Well, I think the fascination is running low power and seeing what you can work with it. And also, if you run low power, it makes the whole station much more portable. You can operate from batteries. You could operate from solar panels actually and recharge the batteries. I think QRP is a type of operating which takes you back to the basics of ham radio, back to the early days of ham radio, but with more modern equipment. Now, if you operate CW, then you probably will enjoy QRP a bit more than you will if you operate SSB. But nowadays we've also got FT8. So FT8 is a very attractive mode for QRP operation because with low power, even with 1 or 2 watts, you can work all over the world if the conditions are right. But also you can work all over the world with CW. And us older operators, and a lot of new operators actually, have found that the fascination of CW is not only in the mode itself, it's a challenge, and it's something to be proud of. You've learnt a mode, you've learnt CW. It's something that you have to learn. You're not born with it, you have to learn it, and the only way to learn it is the hard way, is to practice, practice and practice. But once you've cracked it, it opens up a complete new field in amateur radio. You can operate low power and work all over the world using CW. And of course, it means to say you can have narrow bandwidths, and you can work stations right down into the noise, as you can, of course, with FT8. But the challenge of QRP is, I think, it's the basics of radio. It's how radio started, low power. And if you operate CW, that's really how radio communications started. It was the first digital mode because CW is a digital mode. It's an on-off signal. But One of the things that QRP operators do enjoy is operating out and about in the field, remotely, up a mountain, on a hilltop, or beside the sea, where you get tremendous improvement with the salt water. And if you want a new challenge in ham radio, then QRP is something that you should look at. But it's not for everybody. I mean, there are many operators who will say, well, look, yeah, okay, but if I've got 100 watts, I can work all over the world. And if I put an amplifier and run 1,000 watts, I can work even further and get even stronger signals. And if I put up a 3-element Xiegu, I can get even stronger signals. Well, yes, you can. But to some extent, the challenge then disappears. Running QRP is a type of operation that, for some, is fascinating to see what they can do with very basic equipment. Let me just show you some of the equipment that I've used over the last few years, and it may be a springboard for you to get some idea of what you want to use if you're going to go into QRP. I think the first time that I became interested in QRP again in recent times was when we attained the Elecraft agency and we started to import the KX3. This transceiver, the KX3, was a phenomenal success, and we sold hundreds and hundreds of them, almost all of them in kits. We were building the kits for some people, but a lot of customers wanted the kits, and it proved a phenomenal success. It had so much to offer. I think the current ones will produce about 15 watts, certainly on the higher bands. But it had so much in it. It had a wonderful auto ATU, although that was an optional accessory that was built into it. And filtering was extremely good. The stability was good. The whole concept was lovely. And basically this screen here, believe it or not, was exactly the same screen as they used in the K3 base station transceiver. So you got a lot of information there. And the KX3 was loved by QRP operators, and today still is. The second-hand market for a KX3 is still very buoyant if you can find one, but lots of people seem to hang on to them. But the KX3 really did change the scene of ham radio, certainly as far as the US hams are concerned, and certainly when we started to import the KX3 into the UK. Following on from the KX3 was the little KX2. The KX2 didn't cover 6 meters, and you only got receive on 160 meters. Basically, it was 80 through to 10 meters, but it was a lot smaller. Still gave 10 watts out on an external supply, 5 watts on an internal supply, and both this and the KX3 could be turned down to around about 100 milliwatts, I think. So again, loved by the QRP enthusiast. Again, you could have an internal auto ATU. This one's got an internal auto ATU in it. In fact, this one is 005. It was one of the very first KX2s to be manufactured, and I picked this up from Elecraft in Dayton, Ohio, quite a few years ago now. And it's a lovely transceiver. Basically, it's smaller. You can't put internal batteries in. The KX3 you could put internal AA cells in, but I don't think many people took that option because it was quite hungry on power. So I think most people used to use the KX3 with an internal supply. This one does have a dedicated internal battery that will fit into it, and that gives a reasonable amount of power. I can't remember what the battery size is now, but when I've taken this out in the afternoon, I haven't needed to change the battery at all. So the KX2 is really a pocket type QRP transceiver, and still really is one of the smallest QRP transceivers available today. It's literally you can put it in your pocket. Now, in more recent times, Xiegu have come on the market with their new QRP transceivers. This is the 6100. There is a 6200 now. basically it's got a lovely colour screen. It's got a lot of detail on the screen, got a panoramic display which you didn't have on the KX2 and or haven't got on the KX2 and KX3. Of course it's got a colour screen. It's got a built-in antenna tuner. That's not an option. The built-in antenna tuner is very capable. I would say it's just as capable as the Elecraft internal ATU. And we're talking about a transceiver now which is around about half the price of the Elecraft KX3, perhaps even less than half price nowadays. So you get great value. So if you're looking for a QRP transceiver for HF operation 160 through to 6 meters, then either the 6100 or the 6200 are great value. It's got a forward facing speaker as well, which is quite handy, and I've used this extensively and I love it. It's a great transceiver. Built-in battery. You can charge the battery from the external point there. I've got a 12 volt supply power in this at the moment. With the 12 volt supply you get 10 watts output. With the internal battery you get 5 watts output, and again the internal battery lasts a good afternoon's operation. So yeah, it's a very nice transceiver, and selectivity is excellent, got very good noise reduction. It's great value. Made from China, but that's the way things are going at the moment, and we've sold loads and loads of these, both the 6100 and the 6200. I think 6200 has got one or two extras on it. One unusual extra, I suppose, is it's got airband receive on it, and I did do a video on the 6200 about a year ago. But if you're looking for a very comprehensive HF QRP transceiver, then this should be on your list. Now, although this is not strictly a QRP transceiver, I couldn't resist putting this into the mix. It's the G90, the Xiegu G90, same people that make the X6100 and the X6200. This has capability of 20 watts, and it's a fantastic receiver. It covers 160 through to 10 meters. You can screw the power down to about a watt, but it's tremendous value. All modes, SSB, AM, and CW, of course. I've used it a lot on CW. Again, it's got a built-in antenna tuner. Built-in antenna tuner. And if you check this on our website now, you'll be amazed at the price. This is a 20 watt transceiver. Check it on our website. You'll be amazed at the price. It's great value, and I've used this one extensively, and I really love it. It's a really nice and it's reliable, rugged transceiver. And if we go up market, we come to the Icom IC-705. I've had this for a couple of years now. Oh, by the way, you may have noticed I've got a tilt stand. If you remove the earth bolt on the side and put it in the socket there, which is intended for a camera tripod, you get a tilt stand. In fact, I've used a different bolt now, but if you use the earth bolt that's in the side there, take it out, put it in there, you get a nice tilt stand. Otherwise, you have it sitting on the table here. It's okay, but I like to have it tilted. Now, the IC-705 has really won the hearts of a lot of QRP operators, particularly those that are Icom fans. And it covers 160 meters right up to 70 sems. It's got a lovely 4.5 inch full color screen. It produces 10 watts on an external supply, 5 watts on its battery. The battery actually clips on the back. If I turn this around, you'll see it. Oh, there we are. See, the battery clips on the back there. So you could purchase an extra battery if you want to. I've got a converter there, by the way, so I can put a PL259 into it. But it's a lovely transceiver, and it does an awful lot of things. You've got the digital mode on FM for the Icom D-Star, and the CW operation is beautiful. It's got processor, it's got a lovely panoramic display. It's got a built-in VSWR display there, spectrum display, and altogether it's really nice. Now this is upmarket. Again, it's got a front-facing speaker, which is quite nice. The criticism has always been, well, it hasn't got an antenna tuner built in or an antenna matching unit built in, which is quite true. I tend to operate these days with resonant antennas, so that's not a problem. Icom do an antenna matching unit for this, which is a separate unit that connects to the antenna socket of the radio, and that will tune basically an end-fed wire or a coax system that's slightly off frequency or got a slightly high VSWR. But it's a quality radio. It really is a quality radio, and if you actually pick it up and sort of look at it, you realise it is a nice quality radio, quite deep actually, and it is the upmarket answer to QRP. Of course, there is another one lurking in the background now, which I will mention. But if you're looking for an upmarket QRP transceiver that's very rugged, very reliable, covers DC to light, in other words 160 meters through to 70 sems, this has really got to be on your list, the Icom IC-705. Now, one of the most famous QRP setups is the B2 transmitter and receiver from the Second World War. This is the B2 transmitter with its crystal there, and this is the receiver section there, VFO controlled there, and the two were built into a suitcase. And let me show you how things have changed. But at the moment I'm also having built a Paraset transceiver. It's a copy of the World War II predecessor actually to this. The Paraset transceiver that was dropped behind enemy lines for use by spies, and hope to have that sometime later this year. Now I have to admit, when I operate QRP I tend to operate CW, Morse code, because it's a mode that I enjoy, it fascinates me, and it does give me a better chance of working a bit of DX with low power. And with QRP you can also use fairly simple antennas, a wire antenna or a whip on the roof of the car or the back of the car, or a loop antenna. There's all sorts of different antennas you can try, particularly if you're out and about. And of course the other thing about QRP is, because you can go out and about away from built-up areas, it means to say that you've got less noise. You can actually probably find a location where the noise is extremely low. That gives you an advantage in hearing some of the DX stations. And also there are dedicated QRP frequencies, 40 meters. I often operate on 7.030 or just a bit above or just a bit about. That's the QRP calling frequency for CW. There's one on 20 meters, 14.060. Not a lot of people go up there, but if you listen on 14.060 you will find the odd QRP station comes up and calls CQ, and the chances are if you go back you'll work him. So there are dedicated frequencies. Now for QRP it really does make more sense to listen and call rather than call and listen. You can put out a CQ, and I put out CQs and had contacts, but you get a better result rate if you wait for a station that's calling CQ and then you go back to them. You know at least somebody's listening on the band on your frequency. If you put out a CQ, low power, then you may not get a reply. I don't want to put you off, but really truly if you're on batteries you could waste an awful lot of power by calling CQ. Now I don't want to persuade you otherwise. If you're on the calling channel, for example, it makes sense to call CQ because the chances are there will be people listening on that calling channel. But what I'm trying to say is that if you're new to QRP, the best way to get some pretty quick results is to find a station that's calling CQ and then go back to them. There we are. So QRP is a fascinating part of the hobby. It's a very active part of the hobby now. In fact, there's never been so many transceivers. If you look on our website, for example, There's a lot of transceivers now that are QRP transceivers, and a lot of the China input or China manufacturers have produced QRP transceivers. If you're looking for a QRP transceiver, my advice to you would be to stick to a name that you recognise. If you go on to one of the big websites in the Far East and you see a QRP transceiver, you need to know what you're buying. And my advice to you was buy a QRP transceiver that has got a name, it's got a branded, recognised name. And we sell Xiegu, for example, the range of Xiegu transceivers. They're made in China, but they are very good. And of course, if you buy from us, you also get a 2-year warranty, which is something you won't get from some of the sources in China. But there's never been more QRP transceivers available than there is today. It's quite staggering. I can only assume there's a lot of QRP operators, so maybe you would like to join in the QRP fun. If you want to operate QRP and you're looking for a radio, then check our website. We've got a wide range of QRP transceivers. Now, I mustn't finish this before I mention the Xiegu FTX1F. F stands for field. I've done a recent video about this transceiver. It's still not available in the, well, I say still not available. It's not available in the UK. It has been, it was announced last year. The final specification from Xiegu has now been published. I suspect that there will be production models available at Dayton Hamfest, which I think is next week, is it, or the week after? Anyway, it's in a week or so's time. And my guess is that we shall see the first FTX1Fs landing in the UK very, very shortly. Now, this is going to be a competitor for the IC-705. And as I say, I've done a video on it. If you look at the video that I did a couple of, well, probably about a week ago now, I've picked out the highlights of this transceiver. It looks to be a very serious transceiver, and it will also accept a 100-watt amplifier. So you could also use it as a base station transceiver as well. Got dual receive on it, which is nice. 160 meters through to 70 sems. It's got the Xiegu digital FM mode on it, and it looks good. So take a look at that on our website as well. In the meantime, thank you for your support on this channel. It's much appreciated. And whether you're a QRP operator or QRO operator, which means high power, I'm sure that we've got something on our website that will attract you. And also, we've been going for, what, over 50 years now. So I appreciate your support on this channel. Don't forget to press the subscribe button. Please check our website, because we're forever putting up offers on there and new equipment. And even when I go on there sometimes I think, gosh, I didn't even know we sold that. There we are. So thank you for your support. You take care, enjoy ham radio, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.